The year was 2847. Humans have finally reached the stars and found that they were not alone. Many alien races existed in the galaxy. Some were friendly, some were not. But the most powerful of all was the Valari Empire. The Valari were beautiful creatures. They had silver blue skin that glowed softly in the dark. Their eyes were like purple jewels. They lived for thousands of years and were ruled by women. Their empress was the most powerful being in 3 galaxies. Dawan was a human soldier. He was 28 years old. He had short black hair and a face that never showed emotion. His fellow soldiers called him the statue because he could stand still for hours without moving. He rarely talked. When he did talk, he used as few words as possible. One day, his commander called him into her office. "Dawan, you have a new mission," said Commander Park. She was a stern woman with gray hair. "The Valari Empire has requested a human bodyguard for their princess. You will protect her during the diplomatic summit on Archon 7. Dawan blinked slowly. "A babysitting job." "A very important babysitting job," Commander Park corrected him. "The Valari are our most powerful allies. Do not mess this up. Do not offend them. Do not cause problems. Understood?" And that was how Dawan found himself on a space station called Archon 7. It was a massive structure that floated between galaxies. Representatives from 100 different alien races gathered there to talk about trade, peace, and politics. Dawan did not care about any of that. He just wanted to do his job and go home. The princess arrived on the 3rd day. Her name was Yuna. She was young for a Valari, only 500 years old. By human standards, she looked like she was in her early 20s. Her skin was the color of moonlight on water. Her violet eyes were curious and bright. When she saw her new bodyguard, she tilted her head like a bird examining something interesting. "You are the human?" she asked. Her voice was soft and musical. "Yes, Your Highness," Dawan replied. "What is your name?" "Dawan." "Dawan," she repeated, tasting the word. "That is a nice name. What does it mean?" "I do not know, Your Highness." Princess Yuna waited for him to say more. He did not. She smiled slightly. Most males tried very hard to impress her. This one did not seem to care at all. She found that interesting. The first test came that evening. There was a welcome banquet in the Grand Hall. Hundreds of guests attended. Princess Yuna sat at the high table with her mother, Empress Hana, and other important leaders. Dawan stood behind the princess. He did not sit. He did not eat. He did not drink. He simply stood there like a statue made of stone. 1 hour passed. Then 2. Then 3. The Valari guards rotated every 30 minutes. Standing still was difficult for them. Their bodies were not built for such things. But the human did not move. He did not shift his weight. He did not scratch his nose. He did not even blink very often. By the 4th hour, people began to notice. "Is he alive?" whispered one Valari noble to another. "I think so. I saw him breathe once." Remarkable. Humans are strange creatures. By the 6th hour, the entire hall was watching Dawan more than the entertainment. Empress Hana herself turned to look at him. She was an ancient being, beautiful and terrifying. Her silver blue skin was darker than her daughter's, and her eyes held the wisdom of 3,000 years. She studied the human with interest. He stood perfectly still, his eyes fixed on some point in the distance. He seemed completely unaware that everyone was staring at him. "Fascinating," the Empress murmured to herself. Princess Yuna felt strangely proud of her bodyguard. She turned around in her chair to look at him. "Dawan, are you not tired?" she asked. "No, Your Highness. Are you not hungry?" "I ate before the event, Your Highness." "Do you not want to sit down?" "I am on duty, Your Highness." She turned back around, hiding a smile. He was very dedicated. Or very stubborn. Perhaps both. The banquet continued. Servants moved through the hall carrying trays of food and drinks. One servant approached Princess Yuna with a crystal glass filled with purple liquid. "Your wine, princess," the servant said. Do-hwan was staring at the ceiling. He looked completely lost in thought. He seemed to be counting the lights or perhaps thinking about nothing at all. His eyes were unfocused. His face was blank, but when the servant's hand moved to pour the wine, Do-hwan's hand shot out like a snake. He grabbed the servant's wrist and held it in an iron grip. Everyone froze. "The drink is poisoned," Do-hwan said calmly. He had not even looked at the servant. He was still staring at the ceiling. Guards rushed forward. They seized the servant, who began to scream and struggle. A quick test proved Do-hwan right. The wine contained a deadly poison that would have killed Princess Yuna in seconds. The hall erupted in chaos. But through it all, Do-hwan remained still. He had released the servant's wrist and returned to his position. His face showed no emotion. His heart rate had not increased at all. Empress Hana stared at him with new eyes. This human had been looking at the ceiling. He had seemed completely unaware of everything around him. And yet he had caught an assassin without even looking. "How did you know?" Princess Yuna asked, her voice shaking slightly. Do-hwan finally looked down at her. "The servant's hand trembled," he said. "And he smelled like fear, but you were not looking at him. I do not need to look to see, Your Highness." Princess Yuna felt her heart beat faster. She had met many warriors in her long life, but she had never met anyone like this human. Empress Hana continued to watch the strange bodyguard. A small smile played on her ancient lips. Perhaps humans were more interesting than she had thought. The banquet ended early that night. But for Do-hwan, it was just another day at work. The days after the assassination attempt were busy. Security increased everywhere on Archon 7. More guards patrolled the halls. More cameras watched the rooms. But the biggest change was how people looked at Do-hwan. Before, he was just another human soldier. Now, he was the human who caught an assassin without looking. Stories spread quickly in the station. Some said he had special powers. Others said humans could see through walls. A few believed he was not human at all, but some kind of robot. Do-hwan did not care about the stories. He continued to do his job. He stood behind Princess Yuna during meetings. He walked beside her through corridors. He waited outside her room while she slept. He rarely spoke unless spoken to. On the 5th day, Empress Hana requested to meet him personally. Do-hwan was brought to the Empress's private chambers. The room was large and beautiful. Strange plants from distant worlds grew in crystal pots. Soft music played from somewhere. The air smelled like flowers he could not name. Empress Hana sat on a chair that looked like a throne. She wore robes of deep purple and silver. Jewels sparkled in her hair. She was beautiful in a way that was almost frightening. Her eyes held the weight of 3,000 years. "Come closer, human," she said. Her voice was like honey and ice mixed together. Do-hwan walked forward and stopped at a respectful distance. He bowed his head slightly. "You saved my daughter's life," the Empress said. "I wish to thank you. I was doing my job, Your Majesty." Most would accept praise more gracefully. "I apologize, Your Majesty." "Do not apologize. I find your honesty refreshing." Do-hwan stood still. The Empress studied him like a scientist examining a new species. She asked him questions about Earth, about humans, about himself. He answered briefly and honestly. He did not try to impress her. He did not flatter her. He simply told the truth. The meeting lasted over 2 hours. By the end, Do-hwan was exhausted. He had not slept well since the assassination attempt. He had been working double shifts to ensure Princess Yuna's safety. As the Empress finished speaking, Do-hwan felt his body betray him. A yawn built up in his chest. He tried to stop it. He really did. But it was too strong. His mouth opened wide, showing all his teeth. He breathed out slowly. Then he caught himself. His face turned slightly red. "I apologize deeply, Your Majesty," he said quickly. "That was very rude of me." But the Empress did not look offended. Her eyes had gone wide. A strange expression crossed her face. It was something between surprise and delight. You just... She started to say, then stopped. A slow smile spread across her beautiful features. Do-hwan did not understand why she was smiling. He had just yawned in front of an alien empress. That was terrible manners. "I apologize again," he said. "I have not slept much lately." "Of course," the empress said. Her voice was warmer now, softer. "You are dismissed. Please rest." Do-hwan bowed and left quickly. He was embarrassed about the yawn. He hoped it would not cause problems. He had no idea what he had just done. In Volari culture, showing one's teeth while breathing out was a very old custom. It came from ancient times when the Volari were still young as a species. Back then, showing teeth was a sign of trust. Breathing towards someone meant sharing your life force with them. Together, the gesture meant something very special. It was a courtship display, a sign of romantic interest, a way of saying I trust you with my vulnerability. No one had made that gesture to Empress Hana in over 1,000 years. Males were too afraid of her, too respectful, too careful. And yet this simple human soldier had done it without thinking. The Empress sat in her chambers long after Do-hwan left. She touched her own lips softly and smiled. Meanwhile, Princess Yuna was dealing with her own feelings about the human bodyguard. She found herself watching him constantly. The way he stood so still. The way his dark eyes seemed to see everything and nothing. The way he spoke in short sentences that somehow said more than long speeches. She tried to start conversations with him. She brought him food during his shifts. "I noticed you have not eaten," she would say. "Please, have some fruit." "I cannot eat while on duty, Your Highness," he would reply. "Surely one piece of fruit will not hurt." "Thank you for your kindness, Your Highness. But I must decline." She tried asking him about Earth. "Tell me about your home planet," she said once. "It has land and water," Do-hwan answered. She waited for more. "Nothing came. Is that all?" she asked. "It also has air, Your Highness." Princess Yuna laughed. She could not help it. He was so serious, so literal. She could not tell if he was being funny on purpose or not. She showed him Volari poetry one afternoon. Beautiful verses about stars and love and time. "What do you think?" she asked after reading one. Do-hwan was quiet for a moment. "It is interesting, Your Highness." "Just interesting?" "I do not know much about poetry." "Do humans not have poetry?" "Yes, but I did not pay attention in school." Another laugh escaped her. This human was unlike anyone she had ever met. That evening, Princess Yuna went to her mother's chambers. She often visited the Empress to talk about her day. Tonight, she wanted to talk about her strange bodyguard. "Mother, the human confuses me," Yuna admitted. "I cannot tell what he thinks. He is like a wall." Empress Hana poured tea for her daughter. "Perhaps that is what makes him interesting. He barely speaks. He shows no emotion. He refused my food and seemed bored by my poetry. Some creatures show their feelings in different ways." Princess Yuna sipped her tea. "I suppose. But I wish I could understand him better." The Empress smiled mysteriously. "I understand him quite well, actually." "You do?" "Yes. In fact, he made a very clear gesture toward me today." Princess Yuna nearly dropped her cup. "What kind of gesture?" "A courtship display. The old way. Teeth and breath." The princess stared at her mother in shock. The human made a courtship display? To you? He did. I am not sure he knew what he was doing, but he did it nonetheless. Mother, surely you do not take it seriously. He is human. He does not know our customs. Perhaps. Or perhaps humans express interest in similar ways. I intend to find out. That night, Empress Hana sent a formal message to Earth's diplomatic corps. She requested all available information about human bonding rituals. She also requested everything they knew about the soldier named Du-hwan. The message caused great confusion on Earth, but they sent the information anyway. They did not want to offend the powerful Valari Empire. Do-hwan slept peacefully in his small room on Archon 7. He dreamed about his home on Earth. He dreamed about standing guard in quiet rooms. He had no idea that an alien empress was thinking about him. He had no idea that a simple yawn had changed his life forever. 2 weeks passed on Archon 7. The diplomatic summit continued with meetings, ceremonies, and endless talking. Do-hwan found most of it very boring, but he did not complain. He just stood still and waited for each day to end. Strange things began to happen around him. First, there were the gifts. Small packages appeared outside his door every morning. Inside were clothes made of fine Valari fabric, jewelry that glowed with inner light, foods he had never seen before. Each gift came with a small note written in beautiful handwriting. For your comfort, to match your eyes. I hope you enjoy this. The notes were not signed, but they smelled like the flowers in the Empress's chambers. Do-hwan was confused. He reported the gifts to his commanding officer, Lieutenant MotherI. She was a sharp woman with short hair and quick eyes. Someone is sending me things, Do-hwan told her. I do not know why. MotherI looked at the gifts spread across his desk. Her eyebrows rose higher and higher. These are very expensive, she said slowly. This fabric alone could buy a small spaceship. Who would send you such things? I do not know. You really have no idea? No, Lieutenant. MotherI stared at him for a long moment. Then she sighed. Just be careful and keep me informed. The second strange thing was how the Empress looked at him. Whenever they were in the same room, Do-hwan could feel her eyes on him. She watched him the way a cat watches a bird. There was hunger in her gaze, but also something softer, something he could not understand. He tried to ignore it. He focused on his job. Protect the princess. Stay alert. Do not cause problems. But problems found him anyway. It happened during a grand ceremony celebrating the halfway point of the summit. All the important leaders gathered in the main hall. Empress Hana sat on a raised platform, surrounded by guards and advisors. Do-hwan stood in his usual place behind Princess Yuna. The ceremony was long and dull. Speeches were made. Agreements were signed. Do-hwan let his mind wander while keeping his senses sharp. He was thinking about rice. Specifically, the rice his grandmother used to make when he was a child. It was always perfectly sticky. He wondered if the station had any rice. While thinking about rice, his eyes drifted across the room. They passed over faces, decorations, guards, servants. Everything looked normal. Then he saw it. A small movement in the upper balcony. A glint of metal. A figure raising something toward the Empress. Do-hwan did not think. His body moved on instinct. He ran. He pushed through crowds of shocked aliens. He jumped over a table. He reached the platform in seconds. The Empress was turning to look at him in surprise when the energy bolt fired. Do-hwan threw himself at her. He tackled her offered chair. They fell together, his body covering hers. The energy bolt passed through the space where her head had been. It burned a hole in the wall behind them. For a moment, everything was chaos. Guards shouted. People screamed. Someone called for the assassin to be caught. But in that moment, Do-hwan was frozen in place. He had landed on top of the Empress. His hands were on either side of her head. His face was inches from hers. Her purple eyes were very wide. They stared directly into his dark ones. He could feel her breath on his skin. She smelled like stars and ancient forests. "Are you injured, Your Majesty?" he asked. Empress Hana did not answer immediately. Something changed in her expression. The surprise faded. It was replaced by something else entirely. A deep, absolute certainty. "I accept," she said softly. Do-hwan blinked. "Accept what?" She only smiled. Guards pulled him off her. The Empress stood gracefully, brushing dust from her robes. She looked completely calm, as if someone had not just tried to kill her. Princess Yuna rushed to her mother's side. "Mother, are you hurt?" "I am perfectly fine, thanks to our human friend." The Empress looked at Do-hwan with warm eyes. He has proven himself twice now. The assassin was caught trying to escape through a maintenance tunnel. He was a member of a rebel group that opposed the Valari Empire. He would be questioned and punished, but Do-hwan cared little about that. He was troubled by the Empress's words. What had she accepted? He had not offered anything. He had just saved her life. That was his duty as a soldier. Later that night, a package arrived at his door. It was different from the others. Larger, heavier. Inside were robes made of the finest Valari silk, purple and silver, with golden threads woven through. They were the most beautiful clothes Do-hwan had ever seen. A note lay on top. "For the ceremony." Do-hwan stared at the note, then at the robes, then at the note again. He went to find Lieutenant MotherI. "I need help," he told her. "I think something is happening, but I do not understand what." MotherI took the note and the robes. Her face went pale as she examined them. "Where did you get these?" she demanded. "They were delivered to my room. Like the other gifts. Do you know what these robes are?" "No." MotherI sat down heavily. She rubbed her face with her hands. "These are bonding robes, Do-hwan. Traditional Valari bonding robes. They are worn during marriage ceremonies." Do-hwan felt his stomach drop. "Marriage?" "Yes, and that ash on the note. I think these are from the Empress." They stared at each other in silence. "I do not understand," Do-hwan said finally. "I have done nothing to suggest. I have not." "Tell me exactly what happened between you and the Empress." "Everything." Do-hwan thought carefully. He told her about the meeting after the first assassination attempt, about the yawn, about the strange smile on the Empress's face. Then he told her about today, about tackling the Empress, about landing on top of her, about their faces being so close together. MotherI's expression grew more horrified with each detail. "Oh no," she whispered. "Oh no. What? What did I do?" The yawn. In Valari culture, showing your teeth while breathing towards someone is a courtship gesture. You basically told her you were romantically interested. But I was just tired. And today, a male protecting a female with his body and then maintaining eye contact. That is basically a marriage proposal. I was saving her life." MotherI laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone watching a disaster happen. "You proposed to the Valari Empress," she said. "Twice, by accident." Do-hwan stood very still. His face showed no emotion. But inside, his mind was screaming. "What do I do?" He asked quietly. "I have no idea," MotherI admitted. "But I think you should probably stay away from the Empress for a while." That plan lasted exactly 1 day. The next morning, a formal announcement came from the Valari delegation. The Empress requested a private meeting with the human soldier Do-hwan. Attendance was mandatory. Do-hwan looked at the robes in his closet. He looked at the summons in his hand. He thought about running away and hiding in a cargo bay until the summit ended. But he was a soldier. He had his duty. He took a deep breath and prepared to face his fate. Do-hwan stood outside the Empress's chambers. His heart was beating faster than normal. This was unusual. He had faced death many times without fear. But standing here, waiting to meet an alien empress who apparently wanted to marry him, he felt genuinely nervous. The doors opened by themselves. A guard gestured for him to enter. The chambers were different from before. The lights were dimmer. Soft music played. Candles floated in the air, giving everything a warm glow. It looked less like a meeting room and more like a setting for a romantic dinner. Empress Hana stood by a large window. She was looking out at the stars. She wore a simple gown of deep blue that made her silver skin glow. Without all her formal robes and jewelry, she looked younger, softer, almost approachable. "Close the door," she said without turning around. The door closed behind Do-hwan. He heard a lock click. They were alone. "Your Majesty," he began. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Has there?" She finally turned to face him. Her purple eyes were calm and knowing. "Yes, the yawn, the tackling. I did not mean them as courtship gestures. I do not know your customs. I was simply tired, and then I was saving your life. I know." Do-hwan paused. "You know?" "Of course I know. You are human. You do not know Velari traditions." She walked toward him slowly. Each step was graceful, like water flowing. "But that does not change how I feel." "Your Majesty, Hana, call me Hana. That would not be appropriate. I am asking you to. As the one who wishes to be your partner, not as your empress." Do-hwan did not know what to say. He stood stiff and still, falling back on his training. When in doubt, stay quiet and observe. Empress Hana stopped in front of him. She was slightly shorter than him, which surprised him. She had always seemed so tall on her throne. "Do you know how old I am?" she asked. "Over 3,000 years, I have heard." 3,472 years. I have ruled for most of that time. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched stars be born and die. I have experienced more than your entire species has existed. I understand your—" He caught himself. "Hana." A small smile touched her lips. "In all that time, I have taken only 2 consorts. The first died in a war 1,000 years ago. The second betrayed me for power. I have been alone ever since. I am sorry. Do not be. It was my choice. I decided that I would never take another consort unless I found someone truly worthy. Someone who would not try to use me. Someone who would not fear me. Someone who would simply be honest." She reached up and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his skin. "And then you came along," she continued. "A simple human soldier who stood like a statue for 6 hours without complaint. Who caught an assassin without looking. Who yawned in my presence because he was tired, not caring that I could have him executed for such disrespect. Who threw himself on top of me to save my life without hesitation. I was just doing my job. Yes, and that is exactly why I want you." Do-hwan felt his resolve weakening. There was something sincere in her voice. Something vulnerable beneath all her ancient power. "You do not perform," the Empress said. "You do not try to impress. You do not flatter or scheme. You simply are. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" "I am not special," Do-hwan replied. "I am just a soldier who does not know how to be anything else. That is what makes you special." She stepped back and gestured to a table where 2 cups of tea waited. "Sit with me. Let us talk. Not as Empress and soldier. Just as 2 people who might become something more." Do-hwan hesitated. Then he walked to the table and sat down. It felt strange. Wrong, somehow. He was not supposed to sit while royalty stood, but Empress Hana sat across from him, and the wrongness faded. They talked for hours. She asked about his life on Earth, his childhood, his family, his dreams. He answered honestly, though his answers were often short. He had never been good at talking about himself. She told him about her long life, the joys and sorrows, the victories and losses, the loneliness that came with living forever while everyone else died. "I do not expect you to love me," she said eventually. "Not yet. Perhaps not ever. But I believe we could build something together. Something real. I do not know if I can be what you need," Do-hwan admitted. "I am not good with emotions. I do not understand romance. I have never been in a relationship. Neither have I for 1,000 years. We can learn together. And the living forever? Valari live for millennia. Humans do not. There are ways to extend human life. If you agree to be my consort, you would share in our longevity. It is part of the bonding ritual." Do-hwan was quiet for a long time. He stared at his tea without drinking it. His mind was full of thoughts he could not sort. Finally, he asked a question. "If I do this, will I still be allowed to guard people?" Empress Hana laughed. It was a genuine laugh, full of warmth. "You are being offered eternity with the most powerful woman in 3 galaxies, and your concern is whether you can still stand guard? It is what I am good at. My dear Do-hwan, as my consort, you will guard an entire empire." He considered this. Then he nodded slowly. "That sounds acceptable. Is that a yes?" I need time to think." "Of course. Take all the time you need." She stood and walked back to the window. "But know this. I have claimed you in my heart. That will not change, no matter what you decide." Do-hwan left the chambers with more confusion than he entered with. But somewhere beneath the confusion, there was something else. A small warmth he did not recognize. He went to find Princess Yuna. She was in the garden dome, surrounded by alien flowers. She looked up when he approached, and her face showed surprise. "Do-hwan? What are you doing here? Should you not be guarding me? Your mother requested I meet with her. I thought you should know what happened." He told her everything. The conversation, the offer, the bonding robes. Yuna listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "My mother has not shown interest in anyone for 1,000 years, she said. "You must be very special. I do not feel special. That is probably why she likes you." Yuna stood and walked to him. "Can I give you some advice? Please. My mother is not easy to love. She is demanding, proud, and terrifying. But beneath all that, she is just lonely. She has been lonely for so long that she has forgotten what it feels like to be happy. And you think I can make her happy? I think you already have. Just by being yourself." Yuna placed a hand on his arm. "I know this is strange. I know you did not ask for this. But please, give her a chance. Give yourself a chance." Do-hwan looked at the princess. She seemed genuinely hopeful. He realized that she cared about her mother's happiness more than anything else. "I will think about it," he said. "That is all I ask." That night, Do-hwan lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling. He thought about everything that had happened. The yawn, the tackle, the conversations, the warmth in the Empress's eyes. He was a simple man. He liked simple things. Guard duty, quiet nights, rice. But maybe, just maybe, he could learn to like something more. He fell asleep with the image of purple eyes in his mind. The final day of the summit arrived. Everyone gathered in the grand hall for the closing ceremony. Leaders from 100 worlds sat in their designated places. Cameras broadcast the event across 3 galaxies. It was the most watched moment of the year. Dawan stood in the back of the hall. He was not guarding anyone today. Lieutenant Mireille had relieved him of duty so he could think about his decision. But thinking was hard when his mind kept drifting to silver blue skin and purple eyes. He had not spoken to the Empress since their private meeting. He had not given her an answer. Part of him wanted to say yes. Another part was terrified. This was not how his life was supposed to go. He was supposed to be a simple soldier, not the consort of an alien empress. The ceremony began with speeches. Trade agreements were announced. Peace treaties were celebrated. Dawan barely heard any of it. Then Empress Hana rose to speak. She looked magnificent. She wore her full ceremonial robes, purple and silver with threads of gold. A crown of crystal sat on her head. She radiated power and grace. But when she looked out at the crowd, her eyes found Dawan first. "Today marks the end of our summit," she began. "We have accomplished much. New alliances have been formed. Old wounds have been healed. The galaxy moves toward a brighter future." The crowd applauded politely. "But I have one more announcement to make. A personal one." The hall went quiet. This was unexpected. Empress Hana never made personal announcements at public events. As many of you know, I have ruled alone for over 1,000 years. I have had no consort, no partner, no equal by my side. Many believed I would remain alone forever. She paused. The silence was absolute. They were wrong. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cameras zoomed in. Every eye was fixed on the Empress. During this summit, I met someone extraordinary. A human soldier named Dawan. He saved my daughter's life. He saved my life. He did these things not for reward or recognition, but simply because it was the right thing to do. Dawan felt his face heat up. People were turning to look at him. He wished he could disappear into the wall. In our culture, actions speak louder than words. And this human's actions have spoken volumes. He showed me courage without pride, loyalty without expectation, honesty without deception. The Empress's voice softened slightly. He also yawned in my presence because he was tired and did not care that I might be offended. That alone was more refreshing than anything I have experienced in centuries. Quiet laughter echoed through the hall. I have claimed him as my eternal consort. If he accepts, he will stand beside me for all the years to come. The hall erupted in gasps and whispers. Earth's delegation looked shocked. The other alien races stared at the human in the back with new interest. Empress Hana extended her hand toward Dawan. The choice is his to make. I will not force him, but I hope, with all my ancient heart, that he will say yes. Every eye turned to Dawan. Every camera focused on his face. The entire galaxy watched, waiting for his answer. He stood frozen for a long moment. His mind raced through everything that had happened. The first day on the station. The assassination attempt. The yawn. The tackle. The conversations. The loneliness in an ancient empress's eyes. He thought about what Princess Yuna had said. About giving happiness a chance. About letting himself want something more than duty and rice. Slowly, Dawan began to walk forward. The crowd parted for him like water around a stone. He walked past nobles and ambassadors, past generals and diplomats. His steps were steady and his face was calm. Even though his heart was pounding. He climbed the steps to the platform where the Empress stood. She watched him approach with hope and fear in her eyes. They stood face to face. The Empress and the soldier. "You claimed me," Dawan said quietly. "But you never asked if I wanted to be claimed." The hope in her eyes flickered. I know. I should have. You should have. But I understand why you did not. You are used to taking what you want. You have been powerful for so long that you forgot how to be vulnerable." The hall was silent. No one breathed. "I am just a soldier," Dawan continued. I do not know politics. I do not know eternity. I do not know how to be romantic or charming, or any of the things a consort should be. I do not need those things, the Empress said quickly. I know. You told me. He paused. What I do know is duty, and loyalty, and how to stand beside someone through anything. He reached out and took her hand. Her fingers were cool in his warm grip. If you truly want me as I am, quiet, simple, strange, then I will stand beside you. Not because you claimed me, but because I choose to be claimed. Tears appeared in Empress Hana's eyes. Ancient, powerful tears that she had not shed in centuries. You choose me? She whispered. I choose you. The hall exploded in applause. Cheers echoed from every corner. Earth's delegation looked bewildered, but clapped anyway. Princess Yuna was crying openly, a huge smile on her face. Dawan stood beside the Empress as the noise washed over them. He did not smile. His face remained as stoic as ever. But his hand held hers tightly, and that said everything. A journalist from a major news network shouted over the crowd, Guardian Dawan. How do you feel about this? Dawan looked at the journalist with his usual blank expression. I was not paying attention when most of this happened, honestly. The Empress laughed. It was a beautiful sound, free and full of joy. I know, she said, squeezing his hand. That is exactly why I chose you. The ceremony ended with celebration. But for Dawan and Empress Hana, it was just the beginning. 1 year later, things had changed and yet stayed the same. Dawan lived in the imperial palace on the Valari homeworld. It was a place of incredible beauty, with towers that touched the clouds and gardens that bloomed with flowers from 1,000 worlds. He was officially the eternal consort now. The bonding ceremony had extended his life to match the Empress's. He would live for millennia, standing by her side. But he was still Dawan. He still stood guard during meetings, even though he did not have to. He still gave one-word answers to questions. He still stared at the ceiling when he was bored. He still thought about rice at inappropriate moments. The Valari people adored him. They had never seen anyone like him before. A human who did not try to be more than he was. A consort who seemed completely unimpressed by wealth and power. A man who once told a visiting emperor to wait a moment, because he was counting the tiles on the floor and wanted to finish. Princess Yuna visited often. She delighted in calling Dawan her stepfather, even though he was technically younger than her by 500 years. Are you happy? She asked him one afternoon. Dawan thought about the question carefully. He thought about the palace, the food, the Empress who smiled at him every morning, the quiet moments they shared, the warmth he felt when she held his hand. The food is good, he said. Your mother is kind. Nobody tries to assassinate me anymore. He paused. Yes, I think I am happy. Princess Yuna smiled. I am glad. From across the garden, Empress Hana watched them. Her consort and her daughter talking in the sunlight. Her heart, which she had thought was too old to feel, swelled with joy. She had waited 1,000 years for this. For someone who would not try to use her. For someone who would simply be present, steady, and real. She had found him in the strangest way possible. Through misunderstandings and yawns and tackles. Through cultural confusion and accidental proposals. But in the end, none of that mattered. What mattered was that they had found each other. She claimed him for eternity, and she had no regrets. Neither did he. The end.